Alright, so we're on the draw with this hand. Two Urborgs isn't great, but I think I am going to try it. Maybe this Ensnaring Bridge will be really good. Obviously, we don't know what we're up against. Though, here's a Misty Rainforest. And I'm wondering if we actually want to deploy the rack or not, but I think we do. We'll just let our opponent know exactly what we're playing. Could mean that we're giving away some valuable information, but we're incentivized to dump our hand quickly for the Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. Blue-green breeding pool. So I wonder if our opponent could be on a deck like Infect, although we'll see. We'll see if our opponent what land our opponent plays will give us a nice indication of what's going on here. Okay, Gavany Township, so likely counters company. So, I think we want to go for the Wrench Mind here. It's not a great spot because our opponent could just potentially go off next turn with Vizier plus Devoted Druid and do all those shenanigans and just kind of win the game. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Our opponent could be missing a white source in this situation. Although they do have mana for Collected Company, and now clearly they are not missing any white source, so we'll see. We'll see what goes on this turn. We'd like to be able to make something happen with this Liliana the Veil, but I'm just not optimistic that we will be given that opportunity. So we'll Alright, so it's just going to be a Kitchen Finks this turn, which certainly could be worse. Inquisition of Kozilek or Liliana are the two choices we have here. I think I'm going to go with the Inquisition. Hopefully we'll get something here. We'll see what's in our opponent's hand. So it's actually a pretty stacked hand. Court of Calling is definitely a very dangerous card. Although I think we might just want to take the Eternal Witness in this spot. Although our opponent can chord for 2 or 3. Alright, yeah, I guess we just take the chord. Although our opponent can just witness it back. It can buy us some time, so I'm going to go ahead and take that Court of Calling away from our opponent. So I expect our opponent to Eternal Witness back the chord, but then if we say draw another discard spell, we could then force our opponent to discard the chord before they are able to cast it. That would kind of be the optimal scenario at this point. Okay, so kind of as expected, that cord is going to get returned. We did find a Raven's Crime. Not clear that that's actually going to be good here, unfortunately. Well, yeah, I am going to cast it and force our opponent to go down to only one card in hand. By activating the Nizumi Short Fang. So our opponent can cord for essentially whatever they want to. So they have access to the Vizier, which would they could cord for Vizier, which would mean infinite mana. But there isn't a payoff card in our opponent's hand to be able to make use of that extra mana right now. So cord for 2, sure. Vizier, sure. So now our opponent has infinite mana, but is top decking. Our opponent is top decking. Huh. I think we want to get this Ensnaring Bridge into play, and then we can also just cast the Raven's Crime for no value, but just to get a card out of our hand so that this Ensnaring Bridge is going to stop these attacks. We can flip the Short Fang shortly. So that's going to be kind of an additional the rack. So our opponent is on a clock. They can sacrifice the Horizon Canopy to draw a card. They're really looking for Walking Ballista, Cord, Dustwatch Recruiter, something like that. Something to be able to use the infinite mana. If they are able to draw a card like that, then that would be game. Otherwise, you know, we have the board under control. So it looks like our opponent's just passing. That's actually a nice draw step. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the Short Fang. Renegade Rallier, nice. So this gives our opponent a couple draws to find something. I guess what they can do is sacrifice the Horizon Canopy. Oh, they could have sacrificed the Horizon Canopy. I'm not sure why. Well, they can still do it right now to try to. Sorry about that. A little moto problem there, but we're back. And it looks like our opponent just took all of the damage there from the racks and the Short Fang. Could have sacrificed that Horizon Canopy. Maybe just not thinking about it. In any case, it looks like our opponent bricked off, so we were able to take down that one. Our opponent could have gave themselves essentially one more draw step had they sacrificed the Horizon Canopy. So for this matchup, I like removal. We want to be able to get that Devoted Druid off the battlefield immediately, more or less. So I'm going to board in the additional Fatal Push. I'm not sure about Bantu's Last Reckoning. Not sure about it. Liliana ended up kind of rotting away in our hand. I think we can shave one Lily. And yeah, I'm going to bring in these Bantu's Last Reckonings as well. Think in terms of what to cut. I don't really like cutting down on discard too much, but we need to be able to answer our opponent's creatures. I'm going to shave one Shrieking Affliction. Between the rack and the Affliction, hopefully we'll have one, at least one. The Short Fang I think I like keeping in. It was pretty solid that last game. So this is a pretty weird hand with 3 of the racks. Also, double Urborg is not really where you want to be. So, yeah, this 6 is better. Even though we don't have a discard spell. I am going to keep. And there's a Thoughtseize. I'm going to top that. We're also looking for our third land. We've got a couple things we need to have come together for sure. So we can just Fatal Push the Noble Hierarch. I'm actually going to do that. Reason being is it can attack through our Ensnaring Bridge, and we can probably break up what our opponent's doing with this Thoughtseize, hopefully at least. On the flip side of that, we could have taken care of the Noble with Bantu's Last Reckoning, and this is just a really good hand. It was 3 Collected Companies and a Chord. Pretty much a nightmare. I'm going to take one of the companies, but not looking great, that's for sure. Okay, so we found a Short Fang. I'm going to run it out there. I don't think we need to play out the Shrieking Affliction yet. So if we're able to kind of make our opponent discard some cards with the Short Fang, you know, it will definitely be looking better. And it looks like our opponent actually has missed that 4th land. So I am going to start picking away at our opponent's hand. And our opponent actually discarded a Collected Company to the Short Fang. So they've got a grip full of gasoline. That Smallpox was quite a good draw, I think. The question is, do we want to use it if it means we're getting rid of our Nezumi Short Fang in this spot? I think the answer is yes. Because I think we want to, if we're going to pick off the Birds of Paradise and pick off a land of our opponents. And we actually got our opponent to discard a Unified Will. I'm going to pitch this Ensnaring Bridge and keep the Bantu's Last Reckoning. So now our opponent's down to 2 lands, which means they're not casting a Collected Company for a little while. We know that our opponent's hand does contain at least 1 copy of Company. So I think it's time to start the beatdowns with our Mutavault. That's pretty annoying. We might have to use the Bantu's Last Reckoning just to get rid of that Devoted Druid. Although I'd like to take a look at our opponent's hand first. So we're just getting a Kitchen Finks there. Yep. Time to get rid of that Devoted Druid. Because the Devoted Druid can produce 2 mana and allow our opponent to cast one of those companies. And once again, our whole strategy has essentially been to stop our opponent from casting Collected Company. Now, Raven's Crime is a nice pickup. So we can use that next turn, and our opponent's not going to be able to company yet. So if we're able to... we may be able to pick our opponent's hand apart. Say we just draw a land. We can then double Raven's Crime, make our opponent discard those companies. So I think what seemed initially like a great hand is not looking as good for our opponent because of the mana problems. And so, yeah, now we've got the Shrieking Affliction going. It looks like our opponent boarded in Kataki, which they're now leaving back presumably to block the Mutavault. But I'm just going to pass the turn. And this is kind of the exact situation you want to be in. The opponent is pretty likely to just lose to the Shrieking Affliction at this point. We're certainly not going to die anytime soon. We have this Mutavault, and alright, so our opponent's actually making an attack. What to make of this? We could block. Yeah, I say we just put the Mutavault in front of the Vizier. One of the main ways we lose this game is to, well, one of the only ways we lose this game is to just getting comboed out. Like our opponent plays a Devoted Druid and then makes infinite mana and then kind of just goes off from there. Inquisition, I think I'm going to wait on that and just pass the turn. Reason being is we only really need to cast Inquisition when we are trying to get our opponent down to one single card in hand. So it could be that, say if our opponent has land plus another spell, they may not actually want to cast it because they may think, okay, I want to get around this Shrieking Affliction, so I'm just going to keep 2 cards in hand. But we have so much discard that that plan is pretty unlikely to work. Okay, well, it looks like our opponent is actually going to go for the Windswept Heath here. Could be something like a Finks or a Eternal Witness. Okay, it is Eternal Witness. So, it looks like a Collected Company is what our opponent's getting back, which plays around this Inquisition, but it does not play around Raven's Crime. So we can use the Crime, and our opponent discards that Collecting Company, goes down to 4. We're going to go down to 9. So right now we are winning the race, but if our opponent finds an answer to the Shrieking Affliction, we're certainly not in a good spot at that point. But okay, Kitchen Finks, that's pretty good for our opponent, but we're still winning as of now because our opponent goes to 3. They can attack us down to 2. So if they draw, say, another Kitchen Finks, then we're gonna probably lose. Chord of Calling would be good as well, because you could chord for Finks. So basically any type of life gain. I've seen some Quasali Pride Mages maybe floating around. That would be a good draw, obviously, to get rid of Shrieking Affliction. Otherwise, most cards are, of course, going to be bricks, and then we're just going to win the game with the Affliction. So our opponent actually did find Chord here, so they're going to be able to chord for Kitchen Finks, presumably. Assuming that they have another Finks in their deck, which, I mean, they've already played 2, so you never know. Seems like maybe our opponent boarded one out. Yep, it looks like that is going to do it. So our opponent could have courted for a Finks to potentially win if they had it, but it sounds like, according to what the opponent's saying, they just didn't have the Finks in their deck, so that is going to be the match there.